All right, let's get back into it. Welcome back to What is Going On with Stand with Meg. I'm your host and her sister, SJ. If you're new here, I'm sorry. Um, we are talking about Stand with Meg, Meg Miller, a woman on the internet who is making thousands of dollars scamming people by saying her children were stolen and kidnapped by CPS and family court. She's gathering data, she's selling courses, and we are here to debunk that. We're not here to terrorize her. So if you're the person that left a death threat yesterday on her TikTok, you don't belong here. You're not welcome here. Don't do that. We don't need to be doing that. All right. So I've been trying to figure out where to go next with this story because honestly, it's so convoluted and hard to follow, and that's where narcissists thrive. So I figured it'd be fun for you guys, not for me, to go through this whole experience from my perspective because it's the only one I have. I'm not going to try to convince you of anything. I feel like that's kind of tricky, especially when the story that I'm about to tell involves potential DV, it involves potential SA, it involves a lot of things that have victims. And so to try to convince you of things would be for me to prove receipts on things that are impossible to have receipts on. However, I got a string. However, I think the length of the story and how it kind of shakes out really says a lot about the people involved. So let's get into it. All right, so from my perspective, in 2006, when they met, which was late October, I think their first date was around Thanksgiving. I have been pretty close to Megan most of my life. We've had an interesting relationship, which we'll get into, but she was always my sister that did my hair and makeup. She's the first one that applied lipstick. Um, this is some interesting lore. She really liked pulling my teeth. I didn't realize till later in life that's a little bit weird, but if I ever had a loose tooth, she would pin me down and pull it out. One time she was pulling a tooth that wouldn't come out. I have had teeth problems my entire life, and the tooth broke in half. Anyway, we've had an interesting relationship. I would say she was mean to me. I think she would disagree. But she is 8 years older than me. So when she was in high school, I was quite young. But I always thought she was so cool and beautiful. I always thought she was like Britney Spears. I wanted her to like me. Interesting sister relationship. Okay. So she met Craig in late 06. In early, I think by Christmas, Craig is his name, was asking our family for a blessing to ask Megan to marry him. And I remember this because we were at a restaurant and I was 15 and I said, I don't know, Craig, you bought me ice cream. Seemed like a good guy. You can take her out. You can marry her. That was my feedback. From my perspective, even before they got married, which was in May of 2007, they'd already had several big fights. Uh, my other sister, Jamie, was getting married in June of 07. And so Megan planned her wedding for May of 07. Tells you a little bit about Megan. And it was a very, very big wedding. She had all of her sisters as her bridesmaids and her best friend. It was at Union Station in Kansas City. It was a big to-do. She made a big deal out of the fact that Craig had to sell a motorcycle to pay for her dress. I was just along for the ride. I didn't have a lot of feelings about Craig. I do know that before their actual wedding, Megan actually left him and was, I don't, hold on, left him. She came and stayed with my parents and was like, I can't do this. Craig's awful to me. I remember being confused and I was like, what do you mean he's awful to you? She didn't really share a lot of details. She was mad about something. That's all I know. And was going to cancel the wedding. And I think my parents encouraged her to go back and talk. I know that my dad called Craig and they had a conversation. All I know is that she ended up going back to Craig. Okay. And they got married. Big wedding, big to do. It was a big thing. They got married. A month later at my sister Jamie's wedding, Megan announces at the reception that she's pregnant by putting a t-shirt on. Oh, this is important. Craig has been married before. So Megan's his second wife. He was married. He had a little girl. So sweet. One of my first nieces. I still consider her a niece to this day. Megan doesn't talk about her really. She's very important to me. Megan put her in a shirt at the reception that said Big Sister, and everyone was like, yay. Now looking back, a little inappropriate to have done that at your sister's wedding, but anyway, they get pregnant with baby number one and have her, baby number one, 9 months to the hour after their wedding, which was kind of funny. Through all of these years, from my perspective, I was just babysitter. I would roll up and babysit these kids anytime, any place, anywhere. Love these children. I remember holding child number one in my hand and being like, I love you so much. She technically wasn't my first like baby in our family, but my oldest sister had her first kid when I was 10. And so he was more like a little brother to me. Fun fact, my oldest nephew and my little brother are 2 years apart. So we had almost had some, my sister and my mom almost had some overlap. But all of these kids, Megan and Craig would be tumultuous throughout all of this. I never witnessed any bad behavior by Craig, to be completely honest. And that doesn't mean there wasn't bad behavior. I never witnessed it. In fact, whenever I went with them to Disney World to I was their nanny, Craig tried to tip me because Megan paid me $300 for 5 days of nannying. I had to share the bed with the children. It was brutal. I found out later she was paying other people significantly more, and I was so hurt. I was so frustrated. Anyway, Craig tried to tip me $100. She wouldn't let him. So I've always witnessed Craig to be quite generous person. And I was so eventually I ended up in college through here. I'm in college here. She gets pregnant with babies number 4 and 5. This is where things like shit just hits the fan. Okay. Just absolute shit hits the fan. There was other stuff that happened here I wasn't as much plugged in with. I was in college. I was busy. Shit hits the fan. She's pregnant with twin girls, and Craig has left her. And we're like, oh my God, what an absolute dick. He has left her. We were just shook. She calls me and says, will you come to help me with the kids when I give birth to the twins? Because she had a scheduled induction. And I was like, absolutely, I'm there. So the day that she gives birth to the twins, I am there. I bring her oldest child to the hospital, leave the other kids with the nanny. Keeping in mind, Megan had a nanny through all of this, at least one, if many times multiple. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But this idea that she was like all alone, like she had a nanny, we knew her, she was kind of like a family friend. I go to the hospital. Craig is there. Craig was very supportive and kind. He was wearing his wedding ring. She was wearing her wedding ring. I was like, this is weird. I thought he left you. Okay. Confusing. We move forward. At one point, me and Craig actually team up to convince Megan to change one of the ways she was spelling the name. Like Craig and I have never really been close, but at one point we had like a poster board out and we were like, you cannot spell this child's name this way. That's what I remember for that day. But I was with Megan through all of that. Craig came and went. It was kind of weird. Like we didn't talk to Craig because we were under the impression he had left her for another woman. We were like, you're a piece of shit. At this point, another one of my sisters was getting divorced, the other one that had gotten married. And then I had another sister who was having issues with drugs. So there was a lot going on. And so like this was kind of par for the course. I was kind of like, of course Craig's leaving Megan. Marriage is awful, nothing ever works. But I'm here with the kids. Now we're going to get into some fun lore between me and Megan. I think this might need to be a part 2. But when I come to visit her that summer before she gives birth, she asks me if she can set me up on a blind date. I'm like, absolutely, that sounds like fun. I'm young, I'm single, I'm ready to mingle. I'm 22, I think. So she sets me up with this guy that is a friend of hers younger brother. I'm 22, he's 28. We actually kind of hit it off, and he's in Kansas City and I was living in Columbia, Missouri. So I drive and we go on 2 dates over like the course of the week when I'm there with Megan, again, like helping with her kids. We hit it off. I think I like him quite a bit. He then comes and visits me in Columbia, where I realized like, oh, this really isn't like for me. But I remember being really torn up about it because I really wanted to like him. I don't know if any girls can relate to that, but like he was a good guy. But we just, and I felt so bad about it. And I was trying to do this thing where I wanted to be more respectful in dating. I didn't like the way I had treated guys in the past. And so I remember calling Megan and being like, hey, I think I need to end things with this guy. I was really torn up about it. And she was like, why are you doing this? And I was like, I don't think I feel for him the way he feels for me. He was inviting me to meet his family. And so she was like, I just think you should like keep seeing him. And I was like, I think I'm going to end things. And I called him and broke up with him. Very mature of me. Good job, 22-year-old SJ. So I break up with him. Sorry, I just realized apparently I can go on for 60 minutes before TikTok will stop me. That's crazy. I break up with him in end of 2013. I go home for family Christmas. I think this is the last family Christmas I go home for because things are crazy. I mentioned I have a sister getting divorced. That sister also has Lyme disease and is like, her health is like awful. My other sister, her husband, so I had sister number 1 is divorced, dealing with drugs. Her ex is getting remarried. She's a mess. Her son is a mess. My second sister, who'd been married, has just gotten divorced. She's got Lyme disease. Sister number 3, which is Megan, is divorced with 5 children. There was a lot going on in my family home that Christmas. And I just remember I was really overwhelmed with it. I'd actually had a conversation with Megan and my brother about how hard dating was and how like bugged out I was about not liking this guy that was like a perfectly good guy, and like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just like people? And I am having a moment and I need to go cry. And so I go step into one of the very few bedrooms. There's not enough room for all these people in this house, but I go step into the room and Megan's on FaceTime with somebody. And she goes, "Oh, are you crying?" And I said, "Yeah, what's going on? Who are you talking to?" And I hear a man's voice. I'm like, "That's crazy. Are you talking to Craig?" She goes, "No." And then I hear the voice on the other end. And it's the guy I had just recently broken up with. And they're having an intimate chat because she's not like she's like curled up on the bed, like chatting with this person. And I was like, "Are you dating him?" And she goes, "Yeah, I didn't want to tell you." I find out they've been dating. They're in love. Okay. She is postpartum October, November, December. She's 3 months postpartum. She's got 3-month-old and she's dating my ex-boyfriend. And I'm like, my brain is exploding. I'm like, what is going on? I'm also annoyed because he just heard that I was crying. I don't know why that really bothered me. I was like, and she's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Please don't let him hear that I'm crying." I was so pissed. So I didn't talk to her again until May of 2014. I am visiting Kansas City. Sorry, I can hear my husband yelling. I'm visiting my sister in Kansas City. I say, "Hey, I know we're not talking right now, but I really want to see your kids." At this point, she's telling everybody that Craig is not paying for anything, that she's broke. She's living in this big house all alone. So I go and take her kids out to dinner. We go to Chick-fil-A. We're acting like nothing's wrong. We eventually have, like, before I leave, I'm like, "We need to talk." And she's like, "I don't want to talk." I was like, "You need to tell me what's going on with this guy." They're still in love. He loves her. He wants to be with her. And I'm more mad that she didn't tell me. And I keep being like, "Why didn't you tell me, Megan? This is like girl code 101. I mean, you should have asked, frankly, but also to not have told me and to me like catch you, like that really sucked." It kind of goes okay. We decide that we're chill, we're good. That guy calls me and says, "Can we meet up?" And I was like, "Fine. Fine." I don't know. Former SJ was a big pushover. So I meet him at a restaurant where I pick up the bill, which is one of my cooler moves I've ever done. I pick up the bill, but he meets and tells me he's in love with my sister. They're going to get married. He's going to be the father to these 5 children. And I say, "I'm going to stop you right there. They have a father. What are you talking about?" He shares that he's been staying the night. He's been changing diapers. And I was like, "She's still married. She's still married." And we're a very like traditional Christian family. And I was like, "She's still married." I tell Megan, "You're still married. You're not supposed to be dating at all. I understand that you guys are separated, but like, what are you doing? You have little babies." And now, as somebody who's been 3 months postpartum at least once, the idea of dating somebody, and he was also like a little bit younger than her. And frankly, he wasn't quite mature enough for me at 22. So I don't understand what she saw in him. Anyway, I pick up the tab. I leave thinking that he's an idiot. And I tell him, I said, "You're being dumb. This is stupid." But we end, and I'm like, I'm here for Megan. I guess I'm here for you. Whatever. This is crazy, but I'm going to move on with my life. Megan gets a really, really good lawyer. She, at some point, the kids are on, she says that Craig's not paying for anything and she's broke. She does a GoFundMe, raises $14,000. My family's like pitching in whatever way we can. She, in 2015, a big scary thing happens. Are you ready for the big scary thing? This is one of her big scary stories that she uses the most often. It's like her big, like, "Look over here. I'm not a bad mom because this happened in 2015. So in 2015, I get engaged. Yay for me. It's my now husband of almost 11 years. We get engaged. She comes and visits me in Hamilton, Missouri, which she has no reason to be there. Otherwise, she comes and visits me in Hamilton, Missouri to meet my in-laws. It's very exciting. She brings the babies. It's very cute. We're like, yay, engaged. And she calls me a week later and says, "Craig's been stalking me." Oh my God, what? Apparently, he let it drop that he knew that she was in Hamilton. And she's like, "How would he know I'm in Hamilton?" Like, she had posted about it on social media. It was very quiet. It was very hush-hush. Because my family was, at this point, I'm not talking to my parents at all. And so she was one of the few people from my family that met my in-laws. So she goes to a car dealership and says, "Check my van for a tracker." They say, "No, you're crazy." And she said, "No, check my van for a tracker." And they do, and they find a GPS tracker. She takes it to Garmin, where my brother works, and they find out that it's linked to Craig. Not just Craig, but Craig's private investigator. And everyone's like, oh my God, Craig's a crazy stalker. She gets him, she presses charges, he gets found guilty and goes on house arrest. That's where that mugshot is from. That was later expunged from his record, and we'll get to this story. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Don't hate Craig yet. You can hate him for a little bit. But I'm gonna correct the situation. So we think Craig is crazy stalker. They get divorced in 2020 or 2016. She gets 80% custody. She's an amazing attorney. Amazing. Gets this crazy big divorce decree. She gets $6,000 a month in child support and alimony, which I've already talked about. We have a big party. Her attorney's there. At this point, Megan loves family court. She's like, yay. She got everything she wanted. In 2017, Craig gets in a motorcycle accident. In the process of, before that accident, he actually had private disability, which is a smart thing to do. He's a self-employed man. He runs his own business. He had private disability insurance. He also did risky things like rode motorcycles. So he gets in this big accident, ends up getting awarded like $18,000 in disability. Megan sees that in some mail because they still have like mail going to her house. She sees that and she's like, he's getting money. She tells all of us, Craig is lying about disability. We're like, oh my God, Craig's lying about disability. And she's like, he's getting $18,000 a month and working, and he's not giving me any of that money. We're like, you should have that money. Crazy time. We don't hear much more about that after that. We're like, that's crazy. What happened? But Megan just is like, oh, it didn't go anywhere. Weird. So he continues. He gets married to wife number 3, which Megan loves to talk about. It's really not a big deal to be remarried. I don't understand why that's this big like gotcha that she's wife number 3. He marries Shelly. Megan hates Shelly. Megan wants Shelly to have a terrible life for so many reasons. Shelly was fine. We'll get into the story about her and Shelly later, but Megan and Shelly start. Megan just wants, if Shelly shows up dead, go check Megan, okay? That happens in 2018. There's a custody change at this point in time. I don't remember the exact details, but Megan's child support doesn't change. But Craig takes on more time with the kids. He's very consistent. Except actually, it's not true. She tells us all the time that like, I don't know if we can have the kids. And like, well, Craig's not picking up the kids. And I don't know if we're going to have the kids this weekend. She very much tells us that like Craig is this awful, like, he's very unreliable. He doesn't take the kids when he says he's going to take the kids. Like whenever we try to form a family gathering, she said, well, I don't know if Craig's going to fight me on this. Like we're very much like, oh, Craig is a terrible person. We hate Craig. Handoffs between them were really tumultuous. And so all of this is going on. So up into here, we hate Craig. Craig's late on child support. I can't remember if I already said that, but she keeps saying Craig's late on child support. Her kids are on assisted lunch. We all hate Craig. I want to plan Craig's murder. And it gets worse in 2022 when child number 1, who was like, I think just hit 13, starts experiencing severe depression and anxiety. She starts making choices that I think that she wishes she hadn't have made, which is why I'm going to be very delicate about this. And with those choices, we hear from Megan one day to like our sister group chat. Child number 1 has gone to the police. She's saying that Craig essayed her. If you thought I wanted to murder Craig before, I was like pitchforks, I will end his life. We're like, what? This is crazy. How long has this been going on? We're just beside ourselves. Words cannot express how pissed off I was. That's what we're told at the time. Bear with me. If you also want to murder Craig, I get it. Just hold on, okay? There's a twist coming. So that at this point sets a chain of events into motion where all of the children are placed in Megan's custody 100%. This is when my family gets really close because having 5 children 100% of the time is a lot. So that's when I told you we're doing those like family calls, we're helping out. But it's very clear that child number 1 and Megan are like fighting a lot. So that's at one point Sister Jamie says, do you want to come stay with me? Because you don't want to go stay with your dad. Another weird thing that happens through here that I think is important to note that really started setting off alarm bells for me is in one of those strategy calls. It's right around Christmas. That's why I said like Megan wanted to talk about Christmas because she's used to having time off around Christmas because usually the kids go. And so we were trying to figure out how to give her a break around Christmas. And she's talking about whether or not the kids are going to be at their dad's for Christmas. And I said, Megan, do you really want them at Craig's house if like he's an SAer? And she was like, oh, I'm not worried about that. And I was shook. I was like, these children should never see their father ever again. Like, I am beside myself. And I keep pushing her on this. I don't understand why you'd want them to go be with their dad if he did that to child number one. She very much brushes it off. If anything, she's like, I want him to have custody again. And we're kind of confused. What are you talking about? Like, he's an SAer. And she's being very like casual about this SA situation, which has us all shook. And she even says in one of her YouTube videos, I'll see if I can find it, I probably can't, that this child went behind her back to tell the police about this SA. And we were like, behind your back? Why weren't you there with her? I can't remember if I said that or not, but she went with a friend. A friend took her to the police station to tell this crime. So we're like getting through this. Me and Megan have a cutoff. Child number one goes and lives with my sister Jamie to give them some space. In that process, as I mentioned before, it becomes very clear that Megan is caught like through the HHC, which is like kind of synthetic marijuana, through other weird things Megan is doing to this child. This child is unwell. So she stays and lives with Jamie. At one point, she's out of school. Child is not, she's in and out of mental health facilities. But the reason she's not with her dad is because she has said her dad SA'd her. Now that I'm not close to Megan, and Megan's not letting a lot of us see the children, Jamie has like legal residential custody of child number one. We start talking to Shelly and Craig to coordinate care for these children. I want to point out, Jamie's has taken in child number one. Megan's still getting child support and doesn't give any of it to Jamie. Jamie like tries to ask, but Megan does not give her any money. And we're like, Jamie's like, it's fine. I love my niece. I'll do whatever I can for her. This is so long. If you're still here, are you good? I hope you're good. I hope all is well in your life and you're just enjoying yourself. We start finding out from Craig that, because we're all like, he's a sex offender, right? Like, we're like, we don't mess around with sex offenders. We find out, Megan didn't tell us this, that he went to a facility where parents who've been accused of things like that and children like come together in a supervised situation. And he actually did a polygraph. He did a polygraph where he was totally cleared of having done any of this to child number one. And child number one, who was 13 at the time, had been smoking hallucinogenics with her mother, was proven by the polygraph to be an unreliable like witness, basically, that like it was inconclusive. She didn't like that. I guess that's all they can prove. But we were like, oh, so Craig didn't do this? We then find out that when that friend had taken child number one to the police, what child number one had actually told the police was, I'm smoking weed with my mother. Megan took her back to the police the next day and made her tell them that Craig had SA'd her so that she wouldn't go to Craig's house. And she told child number one, if you don't do this story, you will end up in foster care. This child was terrified of foster care, okay? So child number one is safe with Jamie. All of these other children in January of 2024 are placed with their father with a 30-day temporary no contact restraining order from their mother. We start finding out all of these details. And I want to be very clear here. I have seen all of these documents. I think it's time I'll probably post some of them that are appropriate, but I have seen that Craig never missed child support. In fact, from the time that they were separated until the divorce was final, he was paying $7,500 a month in temporary child support. Through all of here, I'm fairly confident he didn't cheat. I don't know. But I do know that she did, because the father of the child she used to nanny for got divorced because he was having an affair with Megan. So she was having an affair here. Not only was she dating my ex-boyfriend in 2013, she was also dating another guy named Lee. And this was confirmed by the children that there was 2 different men coming in and out of the house. And she told the children if they told anybody, they would go into foster care. So she was holding it over the children. They finally start being more honest. The stories that come out get much, much worse, which I'm not going to share here as previously mentioned. What else did she say Craig did? With the insurance thing. Apparently, when he was getting that disability insurance, she asked to increase child support and alimony because he had this new money. He said no. She went to his insurance company and said, he's committing fraud. I can prove it. So before they go to trial over this, because the insurance company is like, we're not going to pay him if he's committing fraud, Megan says, I have all this evidence. They bring her in for a deposition. She tells him the evidence is that he was swimming with a dolphin, and there's no way he's disabled if he's swimming with a dolphin. And they were like, this is the evidence? And they immediately, what's it called? Not dismiss. They settle and they give Craig the money. But that is one of her favorite things to bring up, is that he committed disability fraud. He didn't. He got in a terrible accident, really hurt his head, can only work like 10% of the time. It's totally legal to do so, and makes $10,000 or $18,000 a month in disability, which she likes to bring up at all these custody cases later. And the judge at one point says, hey, you should be thankful for that because that's how he's going to pay child support. Why do you want that to go away? Then we find out, we finally asked Craig about the stalking in 2015. We're like, hey, Craig, what the fuck was up with that? Turns out that van was in his name, so that wasn't illegal on its face. But she had told him that she was going to take the children and leave, and he wouldn't be able to find her or the children, which she'd done before. And my sister Beth remembers that because there was a day when Craig called early in their marriage that, like, we're all sharing notes now, right? Beth says, oh yeah, I remember there was a time Craig called me because he couldn't find Megan and they were looking for Megan everywhere. And later Megan spun some story that it was like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. Craig is just being dumb. But she'd done this before. She'd taken the children and left. And so he put the tracker on there with the PI from advice from his lawyer, and it would have been fine. But she didn't tell us this, she had filed a temporary restraining order on him for claims of DV that were never proved true in any capacity. And the court order that cleared him of that hadn't cleared by the time he put the tracker on. So there was overlap, and so he violated a restraining order. And that's why he pled guilty. He took the total issue, and it was completely expunged from his record a few years later because he was proved to be not a threat. That happened in 2015. It's been a decade, and not a single thing has happened, okay? I trust this man with these children. And I cannot believe that my sister Megan has me on here defending a white man with money. But here we are. I am defending this man. He's a good goddamn father, and he has been through it. Okay, he has been punished by this woman. His life is not great because of this woman, my sister. So if I miss anything, I may need to come back. But basically, like, all of these stories we were spun were spins on Craig. After spending the past 3-4 years very close with Craig and Shelley, they are good, wholesome, normal people. Very, very boring, frankly, and we like that about them. The kids have never been as peaceful. Megan is just spinning her GD wheels over on TikTok, and they are silent. They are laser focused on the kids, just laser focused. The kids are in activities, they're carting them to and from. They have not asked her for any child support. They have not, she had child support for a while when she didn't even have the kids. Anyway, so that's the story of how I thought Craig was an absolute villain, and then found out later that my sister was the villain. There were clues, but I didn't see them because we weren't, as a family, comparing notes. So if you've got a weirdo in your family, start comparing notes. What did I miss, guys?